Welcome back. Talking with Omar today about everything that goes on in the lab at the hospital, and I had no idea, to be honest. I knew that there were different units, as I'm going to call them, within the lab, but I had no idea. I mean, it's specialized beyond my comprehension. But Omar, tell us some more about what goes on there. You've got old and, well, I don't want to say old. We have mature, experienced folks working there, and then the younger crowd that's coming up with all of this incredible technology, and you've got everything you need in that lab. I know. So.
Oh yeah. And well, I'll finish going through our little units.
Okay.
We have coagulation, which I thought when I first got into the profession, I was shocked at the amount of factors that have to work for your blood to clot. I mean, there's they call it a coagulation cascade, and it starts with like 2B to anyway. There's this big chart that we had to memorize on on how coagulation happens, and the interesting thing about it is we have machines that usually the hematology person also does the coagulation studies. And the machines that we run, they do it all for us. I mean, they take the sample. When they draw your blood for coagulation, they draw it into a sodium citrate tube. And what that does is it chelates all the calcium, which means it binds up all the calcium in your blood so that it doesn't clot. Then we spin it. We put it in this machine. The machine adds calcium back to it and times it how long it takes to clot.
How long it takes, okay.
And so that'll give you, and for people on heparin or Coumadin, they use those to determine their different factors that they would need to, their therapeutic range that they need to stay in. And but they have a lot of calibrations and validation and correlation studies with that as well. And then chemistry, I kind of touched on it earlier, but chemistry is where if you come to the hospital or to your doctor's office, almost always a chemistry test is done. I mean, they have the most tests in their department. And the stuff that they do over there is really interesting. I work it every once in a while, but it's not my specialty. Currently in charge of chemistry is Sue Brock, and she is just absolutely brilliant with chemistry. She knows all the enzyme kinetics and your activation energies, the whole kit and caboodle. And she does a lot of what we do with all our data. She reports it to a website. It's called Peer Sharing. It's a peer review website. So other hospitals put their data on there too, and we compare ours to theirs. And they use that to come up with standard deviations and things like that. So she does a lot of numbers manipulating and quality control, and she's been doing it for a long time.
Long time, and extremely good at it, that's for sure.
And it's all very interesting.
I know you feel real privileged to work with this whole group of people.
I
do. Your
do.
passion for what you do shows, and which is wonderful to see. You've certainly selected the right profession for yourself, but I know how much you admire all the folks that you work with, and because of their years of experience, and vice versa, because you're bringing in all the newer techniques, so to speak, and of course we've got all the equipment now, all the new equipment in there. So.
Oh right, yeah, and we're looking to get more. One of the things that we've talked about is molecular testing. Now that we've mapped the human genome and we have all our genetics down, for instance, in microbiology, to ID an organism, we have to wait a day for it to grow out on this plate. Well, imagine if we could take the swab and extract the DNA of that bacteria, take that DNA and match it with what we call a DNA probe, mix it together, and if it's positive, it'll glow a specific color or and so we'll know that day. And those molecular techniques, they have them at St. Jude's Hospital, and they're getting them in Little Rock, and so they're available, they're there, and we're looking into going to molecular techniques.
Can you give me an example in layman's terms of, let's say, a patient walked through the door? What condition would they have? What possible disease or chronic disease or condition would they have that you would use something like this for?
One thing that we do commonly is our MRSA screenings, our methicillin, MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staph aureus. We would know within an hour. Versus, where we're waiting a day give them results. That's
Okay.
for anyone that's coming in for surgeries. We do that, the MRSA screening. For anyone on the floors to know whether we need to put them in isolation or not. Those kind of
that
things
would be wonderful.
Yeah. Instead of them having to wait a day,
Yeah.
it'd be within an hour.
That would be wonderful. Would that work then on, there's one out now that's being the CRE that's out there. It's a new carbo something.
Carbamazepine resistant.
Thank you. I knew that you would know that.
They will. It'll work for whatever we want to specify it for.
Right.
You can tell them, I want this gene, please. You can actually go on the website. I know that a research professor that I was with at UALR, I went to summer UALR too before I started doing this. He talked about how you could go onto a website and you could pick what genetic code you would like for them to send you, and they would send you, so many of them, and it was. He said he used it all the time for his research studies. They just send him little packets of, exactly what he needed.
My goodness.
And so, I didn't mention this, but our profession is also the same people that do the crime lab stuff. The folks that do your DNA fingerprinting and things like that at Little Rock. I remember in school, many of them, since the CSI has been the big thing, they all wanted to go work in the crime lab.
Sure.
The thing about Arkansas is we have one.
Yeah, one crime lab.
Right. Yeah, we have one crime lab. So I mean, it wasn't likely that all of us were going to go work at the crime lab, but it was definitely a big draw for the.
Oh, I think Pinkston Middle School a couple years ago. I mean, that's all they were doing was the CSI.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Doing. We actually did. Me and my wife went to. They had a CSI thing, and we went and set up a little poster board.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was fun. It was really neat.
And it's great to get the kids involved and thinking about what professions are out there, because so many of these professions have morphed into huge, everything that you've talked about this morning. I mean, it's just getting bigger and bigger and more technologically sophisticated. So the advantages that are out there for kids are certainly different than when I went through school or my kids went through school. So it's wonderful. Just all sorts of things. So get computers, get that math, get that science.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Computers are used a lot for the laboratory. Just to be able to get the information to everybody else. That's hard too. But I do want to speak about something else. Specifically about our the medical laboratory science. Speaking of professions morphing, they have a national registry. So after you get your 4-year degree, you take a test, a national test, and this test was designed because all the peers, everybody that was a medical laboratory science got together and said, "Hey, we want to make sure there's a standard for our profession." So they came up with this test, and it's common for medical professions. All of them do something like this. And they came up with this test, and then you take it and you pass it, then you're nationally registered. Now, many states also do a state licensure, where they require you to take a state test, or they'll say the national test counts as your state test. That's how RN does it. They have a state test. With us, 13 states in the nation have a medical laboratory science requirement. Arkansas does not, and Louisiana does. And right now, my wife and I belong to an organization called the American Society for Clinical Laboratory Science, and she actually built their website for Arkansas. And we're actually working very hard on lobbying the state to require a state licensure for our profession.
Omar, this is fascinating news today, and I'm so glad you've come today to share this with all of our viewers, because this is how Mountain Home and BRMC in particular is such a flagship within the state and within the nation, which people don't often realize. So you've highlighted just another area of how we're moving forward and making great strides in this state in particular to just be the best of the best. Everybody wants to give excellent patient care each and every day in whatever capacity that they serve. And you've just brought wonderful knowledge to us today. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Any more shout outs today? You've mentioned some great folks that work at the hospital. Anybody we missed? We want to get them all in there.
Well, yeah, I guess, let me see. There's Alan.
Okay.
He's a great guy. He's come from California, and he's been working real hard.
Alan Dickinson. Yeah.
Alan Dickinson. Debbie Williams. She's our lab director. She's incredible. Been there, I think, 15 years now. Let's see. All of our phlebotomists are incredible.
Those are the blood drawers.
Yeah,
those are the 6 a.m. folks that come in, or whatever time they come in. But you've explained today, in the layman's terms for me and to our public, that all the blood that's drawn has a very specific use that it's going to.
Absolutely.
So sometimes when you see that, like, why are they taking 4 or 6 vials of blood? There's a reason for it. They're looking for things that the doctors ordered, and so they need it.
That's right, they do.
Yep.
And it's very important because it gives them, the physicians, a direction to move to solve whatever problem might be there. And the things that can be involved are just, there's a lot, and we're all working very hard to make people well. I mean,
yes,
it's a very noble profession,
yes,
and
it is.
I'm very proud to be a part of it.
And we can tell, and we're so glad that you're in this profession. Will you come back and see us again another day?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, we'll get your lovely bride to come with you too, because I'd like to explore more about what's going on at the patient. With the care, the direct care. So once that expands a little bit more, we'll get you both on the show and talk some more about that.
It sounds good.
All right, come back and see us.
I will.
Thanks again for sharing your time with us today on BRMC's Healthy Connections. We look forward to seeing you again next week.